So hello once again, everyone, and you're very welcome to the second presentation here at Grad and Live 2022. In this presentation, the CEO of Inspo, John Slattery, will be talking about resolve and will be giving you advice on how to tap into your resolve so you can achieve your goals for 2022 and beyond as well. So look, as with the first session, if you have any questions at all, please do put them in the chat box below, and time permitting, I'll put as many as possible to John at the end. You can also upvote questions if someone else has already asked a question you really want to see answered. But look, that's enough for me now, so I'll hand you straight over to John.
Thank you very much, Piers. And it's a pleasure to be here today with you all. And huge thanks to Piers, to Rory, Gabby, and all the team at Grad Ireland for giving me this chance to speak with you. Today I'd like to talk about resolve. And specifically, I'd like to share what it is, how it can help you, and then give you some practical tips so that you can connect and tap into your own resolve to achieve whatever's front and center for you in 2022. Maybe before we get into the session, very briefly to say that I started out my professional career looking to get a graduate training contract, which was something that was a big priority for me. And I'm going to talk about resolve with trying to get a position in a graduate program in mind. I'm conscious that a lot of people will be watching with that as a focus. Some of you may not. And just to reassure you that if you aren't in that position, that this is just as relevant. We're just going to use that as a theme that we will connect into in the session. I typically do this session on resolve either over 6 weeks, over a half day, or 90 minutes. So it's going to be fairly high level. Nonetheless, I think you're going to get some real benefit from it. I'd encourage you to embrace 3 C's, which is comfort, to make yourself comfortable where you are, and just to sit back and enjoy. Curiosity, to be curious about what you hear. Not everything might be relevant for you, however, I invite you to keep an open mind. And then choice. Choice is there. It's something I love, and it's something that you have in this half an hour. Choice to listen to the whole thing or part of it. Choice to put in a question, which Piers and I will cover towards the end of the session, or not. So please make whatever choices serve and suit you best. So first and foremost, what is resolve? Well, resolve is the firm determination towards specific course of action. And for me, resolve underpins everything that we want to achieve in life. So some of you may have come to today and said, I would like to get a position on a graduate program. And I would offer to you, if that's the case, then it's about saying to ourselves, saying to myself, or you saying to yourself, I'm going to have the resolve to make sure I get a place on a graduate program. And really, you're just bringing this firm determination to that goal. Now, it's all well and good, and that's very high level. How can you more practically bring that sense of resolve to whatever goals, whatever ambitions that you have, including trying to get a place on a graduate program? Well, to do this, I'm going to share my screen because I'd like to work off one slide. So just invite you to bear with me for one moment as I share this slide. Forgive me. So I love this visual because for me, it represents well life as a whole, or any type of journey that we're on, a journey to get a place on a graduate program, the graduate program itself over the 3.5 years, the careers that some of us may already be on. And for me, this visual that you see in front is just a lovely metaphor for life as a whole. And I would say that there are 5 key things that we can tap into to bring that resolve to bear to allow us to achieve what we'd like. And the first of those 5 elements is setting a vision and intention for life. So what is a vision, or what is an intention? An intention is something that if we were to look forward into life, doesn't really matter how far, it could be a year or 3 years or 5 years. And if we were able to say, no matter what else happened, I want to feel at that point, and ... And then it really then is about you populating what that intention is. So when I'm doing these sessions, people come up with an intention that could be happy. I want to feel happy, or I want to feel content, or I want to feel proud, or I want to feel a sense of peace, or I want to feel freedom. So having an intention for our lives, i.e. that when we get to a point in time, we can look back and say we've brought it about in life, can be very positive for us, because then it allows us to make choices, to take actions that allows that intention to start to come to life in the here and now. I would regard that intention almost like a very powerful seed that we plant in our own lives. Now, a vision, on the other hand, is more like the flower that blossoms from the seed. So a vision is looking forward in life again and trying to create a picture for how you want life to be. So really, it's just taking that seed of intention and then creating more of a picture behind it. So it might be very work focused, very non-work focused, whatever way you would like life to look like. Now, how come a vision or intention is important in terms of resolve? So it can be hugely motivational. So there's psychologists such as E.P. Torrance and Scott Barry Kaufman that say having a vision is something that allows us to have greater levels of productivity, motivation, and positive emotion like self-belief and optimism. So we give ourselves huge positivity by having one or both of these things here. And so when it comes to specific goals or ambitions that you have, so for example, when you're looking at a certain graduate program, you can look at it and say, well, look, if I were to try and get a place on that, would it help to bring that intention to life? Whatever you would choose that intention to be. If I was to go for that graduate program, would it allow my vision to get closer to being realized? So in some ways, it's very motivational. It's like a North Star or a point in our Google map, so to speak, that we can use as a reference point to make positive choices in the here and now. So the first of the 5 elements of your resolve I offer is having an intention and a vision in place in life. So just taking a moment, because sometimes I can find myself speaking too fast as I get excited about topics that I speak, and this is very much one. So if we were to just connect back to this vision, this visual that you see in front of you. So say at the very outset, even starting with today, and we set off on a journey, just like the journey that you see in front of you that goes down this valley here on one side, across the river and upwards on another valley. So there's going to be a load of experiences, a load of choices that we're going to have to make. And I'm going to offer to you that the second and key element as we navigate any type of journey is to have a growth mindset. And so a growth mindset is simply committing to have a learner's mind when it comes to life. So a growth mindset comes a lot from the work of a lady called Carol Dweck in the University of Stanford. And one of the pieces of her research that I love the most says that, or indicates that, you with a growth mindset today is much more likely to outperform you with a fixed mindset today. So what is a growth mindset? It's the ability and the belief that you can constantly grow through learning. So this learner's mindset, always looking to learn, to grow. Whereas a fixed mindset is where we tend to believe, you know what, like I can't grow. I've got a set level of ability and nothing can change that. So how do we adopt a growth mindset to support this resolve to achieve all the ambitions that we have, including perhaps a place on a graduate program as an example? Well, there's 2 things that Carol Dweck tells us that we can do. The first is praising the process, or taking time to appreciate what is working well in our approach. So say, for example, you had an interview this week, and irrespective if you get first in terms of the interview places, you get your place on a program or anything else, or if you find out that you ranked low in terms of the interviewees. It's understanding from that, what did I do that worked well? Irrespective of the outcome, what did I do that worked well? That's the first way we build a learner or a growth mindset. And then the second way is embracing what Dweck calls the power of yet. So it's looking and going, what could I have done that would have made it even better? So how can I improve from what I did in that approach? And that's that power that we're not there yet. And how can we build, change, and evolve to get there? So whether it comes to interviews, whether it comes to CVs, application forms, inviting you to always take a step back and with your learner's mind and go, what did I do that worked well there? Or what could I do that could allow me to do even better next time around? And that's what I offer, is the second key element to having this resolve to achieve what you would like to achieve. So just allowing a moment's pause. So resolve, firm determination towards a course of action. The first step to our resolve is this intention and vision for life, being our motivation, our North Star. The second being this learner's mind. So the third element that I offer is so key to having a strong sense of resolve, is managing change. And if we come back to this image that you can see in front of you on the screen, just inviting you to look for a moment at all the change that happens in this journey. So we've got going downhill and decreasing altitude. We've got going from land to water, going from walking to swimming or navigating through some form of device on water. We then change back from water to land. Instead of going downhill, we now go uphill, and we now have increasing altitude, to name but a few of the changes. And I think it's a wonderful metaphor for life. There's so much change as a constant in life. And I think we can speak so well of that from our last 2 years' experience. So sometimes it can be helpful to experience change in a moment. So I might invite a very brief experiment, which is, if you were to take a pen and paper, if you had one available, don't worry if you don't, because it's a very brief exercise. And I'm going to invite you to, with your non-writing hand, to write your name as fast and as quick as you can. So if you have a pen and paper, I'm going to invite you with ready, steady, go, and write your name with your non-writing hand as quick and fast as you can. So I'm wondering, for those of you who are able to experience that very brief experiment, what one word would you use to describe how it was to write your name as quick and fast as you can in your non-writing hand? So anytime I do sessions on Resolve, we do this exercise, and the words that are put through in the chat tend to be difficult, awkward, uncomfortable, not exclusively, but they are just examples of the words. And change can be that. And so how we can successfully manage change is finding a process to break change down into bite-sized chunks. So instead of it feeling uncomfortable, awkward, and sometimes overwhelming, if we can make change into smaller bites, we can, one, make it more manageable. Two, give ourselves moments of positivity on this journey by the small achievements that each time we achieve a micro part of the overall change goal. So in the sessions that I do in Resolve, we tend to go through a process in a little bit more detail. We don't have the time today to do so, but I'd invite you to think about how, when you're faced with change, can you break it down? So for example, if you prepared for an interview that was going to be virtual and it turns out to be in person, how can I create steps to allow myself prepare for that change? so that you can manage it in a very achievable way. And so that is the third of the 5 elements to manage resolve. So be mindful of our time, and also be mindful of allowing Pierce and I to talk through any questions that might be coming through. I'm going to move on to the fourth of 5 elements. And one I particularly enjoy and resonates with me. And it's to trust myself. And I'd have to say it's only latterly in life that I've started to build a real sense of trust in myself. When I was filling out application forms for graduate programs, when I was doing the interviews, I've got to say that there was a significant element of imposter syndrome. Like, oh my God, is this actually me doing this? And can I really say to them that I can do the work that's required in that training program? So in a given moment, we can have trust in ourselves, or we can have a place where doubts in ourselves can be more prominent. And sometimes it's like a scale. And so what I offer as part of this resolve, this firm determination, is the more we can allow the scales to be focused on trust, the more we can back ourselves in responses to questions in an application form, in questions in an interview, in the middle of a graduate program when we're given a new project, or in managing a graduate program, if that's how you are here today. So how do we do that? Well, again, we'd go into this more detail if we had more time. What I would simply offer is, the more we tell ourselves that we trust ourselves, the more we ingrain it in our mindset. So just think of it this way. I don't know if anyone plays guitar, but imagine if each day you practice the guitar, even for 30, 60 seconds, 90 seconds. Just ask yourself, over time, would you start to see gains in your guitar playing? If you're a sports person, if you practice at your sport for 60, 90 seconds, 2 minutes every day, would you get better at your sport? I offer the chances are you would. So my offering to you around trust is, could you take 30 seconds every day, maybe at the start of your day, maybe before going into an interview, and maybe say a statement out loud that tells you that you trust yourself? Or write down on a piece of paper on a page a statement that really indicates, yes, that I back myself, I trust myself. Because the more often we do that, the more we're repeating that in our mind. And we start then to ingrain that sense of trust and belief. And I offer, as part of resolve, it's a wonderful ingredient that you can build into your approach. Okay, so being very mindful of time here, we're looking at the 5th and final element here, which is finding your quality, productivity, and focus zone. So I would have observed when I left, I spent 12 years working in professional services and left to set up my own business, Inspo, in 2016. I found without the system of working in an organization with a boss to report to, that I struggled to find consistent productivity, quality, and focus. Now, we could spend a lot of time on this, and we don't have a lot of time today. So I'm just going to ask you to ponder for a moment on whether you believe you are a good multitasker or not. So what I'm going to offer for those of you who are, to say that research would indicate that if you line up your tasks singularly, i.e. one after another, and complete them in that way, versus trying to do multiple tasks at the same time, you can save yourself up to 25% on the time it takes to complete each task, because you're removing what's called switching time, which is switching between one task to another and mentally shifting your focus into that task. So by focusing on a singular task, completing it and moving on, you remove that switching time. So a very simple way that we can improve our quality, our productivity, and focus is by simply looking at tasks one after another. That for today feels like enough in the time that we have, which leaves us then with the final piece to look at, which is embracing the power of your possibility. And this we will use to finish the session. So could I ask you just to reflect and think about a personal or professional achievement that you are particularly proud of? Just waiting a moment for you to pause about to think of that achievement. I'm hoping that for some, if not all of you, one has come to mind. So here's a question that I would love you to think about. Irrespective of whether you call them the themes that you see in front of you, or whether you call them those exact titles or something different, whether you were consciously aware of these titles at the time or not that you see in front of you, I'd love you to think about how many of those 5 themes do you feel you embodied in your approach to making that personal or professional achievement a reality. So just going to invite you to pause to reflect on that for a brief moment. So how many of those 5 themes do you feel you embodied in your approach? This part of the sessions that I do on Resolve tends to be my most enjoyable part, because when I ask the group that I'm working with to give me a sense of their answer, in the main, the majority, if not all of people in that group tell me that they embodied at least one, in the majority, a lot more than one of these 5 themes to make that achievement a reality. So what does that tell us? And I hope that was the same for you, and it's okay if it's not. What it tells us, if there was one or more of these themes in your approach, is that you already have the resolve that's required to achieve what you'd like. And what today's session is about is bringing heightened awareness on these themes, and what your opportunity is to bring them with as much consistency as you can to everything that you're looking to achieve personally or professionally. And that is a wonderful opportunity that I would love to leave you with. And it's also a great opportunity now and a great place to close the session. And so in doing so, I'll just finish by saying, before Pierce offers any questions that hopefully have come through, resolve is the firm determination to a specific course of action, and in particular, achieving any of the goals that you have personally or professionally. These 5 themes can underpin that resolve. And perhaps you might, from today, think about setting a vision and intention if it wasn't there. Adopting that growth mindset, that learner's mindset, and even trusting, writing down that trust statement on a daily basis or as often as you can. There are 3 simple takeaways that can further enhance your resolve. A huge thanks to all of you who've been paying attention. Piers, I don't know if there's been any questions. I'd certainly be delighted to answer any that's come through from the audience or even yourself.
Yeah, of course. And look, thanks so much for going through that. I appreciate it. It's an important and extensive topic, and it's hard to cover in kind of the brief amount of time we had, and kind of virtually as well. I mean, it is more of kind of an interactive experience, but it was really, really good. I know, like, even I personally took a lot of it as well. But no, we do have a few questions, so I'm going to try and put, I won't get to all of them, unfortunately, but I'll try and put at least a couple to you. And again, look, the questions, a little bit like the presentation, some of them are, can be quite deep and might require some time to really delve into it. So I appreciate you can't do that, but even just maybe, top level stuff as best you can. And there's kind of a simple question here but I do think it's a kind of hard one to answer, which is, and look, again, this is kind of maybe very, personal and depends on the person as well, but how do you measure your own resolve? How do you know you're working on it properly and it's building up?
It's a wonderful question. It's a wonderful question. So I think outcomes will be one. So for example, if I was applying for a graduate program, so the outcome and the feedback would be one. So the outcome, did I get my place? What was the feedback from the employer, a prospective employer? That's external. So that's an external measure of success. The other, I think, then would be taking that growth mindset, Piers, and actually thinking like, well, like, let me do an assessment here. I've understood what the outcome is. I've understood what the feedback is. What's my own perspective about what I believe worked well and what I believe actually could be an improvement, a power of yet. So I would genuinely say, in the short space of time that we would have, a mix of learning from the external outcome and the external feedback, and also internal reflection, applying the growth mindset, can be good indicators of how my resolve is in that moment.
Yeah, really, really good answer considering you did it in about 30 seconds. 30
Not
seconds,
easy
John.
for me, I have to say.
No. And look, another one here again, which not an easy one to answer, but someone has said that resolve is kind of linked a lot to experience as well. So the more kind of go through, the more opportunities you have to build it. So would you have any maybe specific advice for young people, or maybe students kind of started on that journey, on how they can maybe begin to build their resolve without having the experience of that having as many up and downs and things like that?
I love the question. So I'm going to offer two things. I think if I could switch back to a time when I had less experience when I first started my contract, I would definitely trust myself more and back myself more. I probably was in the more doubt mode of trust. So to anyone here, I would offer just and encourage you to trust and back yourself as much as you can. That's one thing I would say. And that just comes down to repeating that, really repeating a trust and a belief in myself, and any statement or mantra that would help. And then the second thing that has helped me, and I offer can help you who asked the question and you listening, is maybe look at people who are down the track that you want to travel, maybe where your vision is, and ask them for a half an hour or 45 minutes in their time, and ask them all the questions of their experience that might be beneficial to help you to apply in the experience that you have and the path that you're traveling, because they can help maybe shortcut some of the uncertainty or some of the doubts that you'd have. So again, I would say a mix of the two: real belief in oneself and learn from those who are on further down the path that you're looking to travel, Piers, will be the two things that come to mind.
Yeah, no, again, really good answer, because it's actually answered a couple of other questions that I was going to get to, which is great. So I think we've time to maybe squeeze one more in, which I think is an interesting one and not something I would have thought about at all, which is, do you think resolve can sometimes bleed into overconfidence? Maybe thinking, oh, I'm bulletproof, nothing can ever go wrong for me.
So it's a wonderful question, and why I'm comfortable answering it is because I think if I'm bulletproof, and if I feel I'm bulletproof and that nothing can go wrong for me, I come back to a growth or fixed mindset. Just asking you, if you're listening, what do you think someone who says I'm bulletproof and nothing can go wrong for me, do you think they're fixed mindset or growth mindset? I would say they are a fixed mindset, and I would say they have created a ceiling in their own mind. The best people in that I've seen in professional perspectives are those who never feel they're bulletproof, who never feel that nothing can go wrong. But I don't think they see it as nothing can go wrong. They always see I can always improve. So here's why I'm comfortable with overconfidence and not being a factor in the resolve that I'd have outlined. If you adopt a learner's mindset, you'll never feel bulletproof. You'll always want to improve. You'll always want to do your best in an interview, do best in a project, yet you'll always be looking to see, well, what worked well? How can I get stronger? How can I get more efficient? So that, for me, applying a growth mindset takes out overconfidence. That would be my feeling on that, Piers.
Yeah, no, again, look, really, really well answered, John. But maybe if you get to that point, it means maybe something's gone wrong in the process or your terms of thinking. Maybe if you do have that overconfidence, and it's time to kind of reassess.
Perhaps.
I think maybe if you get there. So look, John, appreciate again, really extensive topic, but really important one to cover as well. And you did so well to cover it in the time that we had. So really, really appreciate your time. I'm sure, look, everyone watching does as well. And for anyone who joined late, or look, you just want to watch it again, it'll be on the Grad YouTube channel after this. and it'll be available on demand right from here as well. So just a reminder that the next session will be kicking off at 1:30, and that will be hosted by Judy Murphy, and that will be how to, interview with confidence, which kind of leads on nicely from this session. So John, look, thanks again, once again for your time, and thanks again everybody for watching.
Love being part of it. Thanks, Piers.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.